You are listening to another AlwaysMoto production. The AlwaysMoto podcast with your host, David Hogan. This show contains information about injuries to riders competing in AMA Supercross, AMA Motocross, MXGP, Oz Pro MX, and other international moto events. The information discussed may be unsettling to some listeners. It might be incomplete or based on medical opinions due to riders tending to hide the details of their injuries. We are here to explain the information and increase injury understanding and visibility for the fans. There might be coarse language and the odd stuff up along the way. If any of this offends you, turn us off right now.
I'd like to remind you that he is not a doctor.
That's right, Moto fans, I'm not a doctor, but I am a physiotherapist, and this is episode 48 of the AlwaysMoto podcast. As always, I'm your host, David Hogan, the physiotherapist from Australia. We'll be joined during the show by the AlwaysMoto Contractor, and look, I don't know what's going on here, but he's still waiting to get paid. This is the AlwaysMoto podcast. We are in the depths of the clinic throwing strapping tape anywhere it will stick. That's the physio's job, I keep getting told. As always on the show, we'll be going through all things moto, particularly the injuries in our sport, because hashtag injuries are a part of moto. This week, we'll be talking SuperMotocross from Tampa, AlwaysMoto Fantasy League, the SuperMotocross Emergency Department as we head into Oakland, and this is back to a West Coast round. This is that fill-in round, so we're talking about the guys that are coming back for that and the ones that will be out. But as always, bringing you the show today is Polar Australia. Polar Australia and their incredible range of activity tracking, heart rate monitors, and GPS devices, from their H10 chest strap and their top-of-the-line GPS Multisport watch, the Polar Grit X Pro. Now, this Grit X Pro is going to be going back here soon, the one that I've got on my wrist right now, but we've been reviewing it for the past couple of months, and it is a fantastic piece of equipment. And if you haven't noticed, check out Polar Australia's Instagram site. They currently have I'm pretty sure it was a half-price sale on this thing, or $200 off, something along those lines. Check it out anyway. Don't believe what I've said. Check out what it is on their actual Instagram page. You've got a chance to get a good deal on a Grit X Pro at the moment through Polar Australia, so check that out, guys and girls. Thanks also to Slantboard Guy. Don't forget we have that affiliate deal in place with Slantboard Guy, and they've got a 10% discount offer for AlwaysMoto podcast listeners, and you can use that code AlwaysMoto in lowercase at checkout to get that discount. But if you want to get your legs and your squats on point in the gym, improve your standing technique on the bike with stronger legs, this simple piece of equipment is for you. It's very easy to use, guys and girls, and I am super stoked. By the time you hear this, there'll be a picture of my very, very fancy custom new flex board from those guys with the AlwaysMoto logo on it. I was surprised with that this week from the guys there at Slantboard. And you can get your own logo, whatever picture you want pretty much on your Slantboard if you order one. So please check that out and get one of those very soon using the links. The links for both Polar Australia and Slantboard Guy are in our show notes. Please use our links so that we get the cut of that and we can keep getting these support and sponsorships and advertising partnerships here on the AlwaysMoto podcast. It helps us a lot. As always, we still have the show merch available. T-shirts are available. Please check them out. They're $25 plus postage and handling. We need you to send an email to info@alwaysmoto.com with T-shirt in the subject line, and we just need your size, and then we'll be in touch about payment via PayPal. Now, speaking of PayPal, if you're able to, we would love to get a donation from you guys. Follow the links in the show note or the link in our bio on our Instagram page to find the PayPal donate option. and then send us whatever you can. It's just a way of keeping us in the game and keeping us being able to attend these races here that are coming up very, very soon. So both Oz Pro MX is about to start, and we're hoping to get over to a US round this year. So we need some support to do those things and bring you some awesome content and a different look at our sport that nobody else is doing. We are that unique look with the injury side of things, and we have a bit more in-depth information, and I hope you guys and girls out there are enjoying the show from that point of view, because we are different from everybody else. All right, enough with the intro talk. Let's jump into the show.
I'm Kyle Greason, and you're listening to the AlwaysMoto podcast.
All right, we're into the show. Welcome in, contractor mate. Benny, how was your week?
Yeah, it's been all right. It's not too bad. Yours?
Yeah, all right, considering I'm still on a sling. So, it's life of a hermit. I'm stuck at the desk at home, and I can't really do shit about it because I got one arm. So it's fantastic.
Just what we want.
Well, at least for now, it seems like it's healing. So I'm happy about that. I'm getting a little bit more movement with my rehab myself. So still working towards a comeback here in the next few months, but we'll get there when it's time.
Yep.
So Tampa came and gone. Big sand section. I love sand sections, Benny.
Yes, I know you do. And but that sand section's not too bad. The straight sand sections are not too bad, but that corner, I'm not really sure what they were thinking. It was a mess.
It got pretty deep on that inside rut, and then I don't know what you thought about it, but like the way Hunter started taking it to try and get around, I think it was Mosman in the early part of that main, and then Thrasher did the same thing on that last lap to try and block Hunter. That corner was just a bit dodgy. I'll admit that the corner was a bit dodgy, but I loved the whole section where they were, struggling to get drive, and then some of them would triple, some of them would have to double, or just manual it at some points. So I loved that section. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, like the corner wasn't any good, and Hunter was doing a bit of a weird line out of it, and then Thrasher used that same sort of line, and they came together. But I think sand's only for good photos. That's about it, in my opinion.
I'm gonna just keep every time there's a sand section, I was gonna bring it up to you and just put pictures of beaches up for you or something like that. So we'll make that the running joke for the time being. Every time a sand section comes out.
Yeah.
But how was Hunter's win, mate? I was loving it. The charge through the field, and then the bike control that he had in that last corner to drift it in from outside the in, block the line, and then still just managed to get it through that last, on it was, well, he was meant to go over the tabletop and double off, but he just singled that whole section and still managed to get it done. It was pretty sweet.
It was very tight though, when both of them going over the line, but yeah, just unbelievable. He was at the back, like further back, and I didn't think there was any way that he was going to get to the front. And he just took after his brother pretty much. And as much as he hates people saying that, but just was a beautiful ride. And that last corner was just ridiculous. Luckily he got the win.
Yeah, he did. And on that point about it was tight at the finish, good for him that the transponder loop is at the bottom of the jump, not the top, because by the top he was done. Thrasher was past him at that point because Thrasher at least hit the jump, but Hunter rolled. So lucky the transponder loop's down low, so he got there in the end. But that was pretty awesome. And you're right there about the speed side of things. I think he's definitely picked up some pace from obviously chasing Jet around the track in Supercross, because Hunter's Supercross skills, when he first came back from those injuries and got onto the track there in that in those COVID rounds in Salt Lake, he was not very good at that point. But fast forward, 3 years now, whatever it is, and he's got it dialed on the Supercross track. He was impressive on Saturday, Saturday night their time, Sunday afternoon our time. So yeah, it was pretty sweet. Or Sunday morning, sorry. So yeah.
Yeah, no, back in the COVID COVID times at Salt Lake, he wasn't very good, but he had only just come back from those injuries. But yeah, fast forward, last year was close. If he hadn't had that crash, while trying to chase down Christian Craig. Would have probably taken the title right to the end, and it was still close at the end. But this year is just on another level.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good for this one, but he's got a few rounds to go yet, and obviously the East Coast has gone off for this weekend. The West Coast is back, so we're back to Jet and the West Coast guys for this weekend because they got that makeup round for Oakland. We'll be calling it round 2, and everybody will be scratching their head because it's actually round 6. But I'll be looking forward to next week when we can stop all this which round bullshit is it, because I'm sick of the Twitter comments about it's round 3 or it's round 4. It's actually round 5, and who gives a fuck? But at least the East is the East is on a week off. The West is back, but then it's a long run for the East Coast. So that's where Hunter will have to get to work at that point. But yeah, Jet back this weekend. What do you reckon? You reckon he's up for another win this week?
Yeah, I think we'll get the Triple Crown out of the way. That he won that last race in the Triple Crown. But yeah, I think when you go back to a long main event, I think it's got his name written all over it.
Definitely. I think I'm with you on that. I don't see many people keeping up with him for the 15 minutes plus 1. So see what happens in Oakland this weekend. But how's the form for Jason Anderson after Tampa? He's managed to get himself in a little bit of hot water and on the AMA probation list for 6 months, which is going to temper down his passing maneuvers, I would expect.
He just can't help himself. And, us as the spectators are sitting here going, what are you doing? Like last year, he'd lost so many points because of these silly passes on either Barsha or Mookie or whoever else it was. And then, he's done the exact same thing this year. So I'm not sure why he has to do it. But yeah, now he's on probation for 6 months, and I saw in the comments of the Racer X article, he said, "Who's my probation officer?" I don't think he's too happy with it.
I don't know if he's too happy with it. I just think he just actually thinks it's a bit of a fucking joke. Like, to be honest, like he's worse this year than he was last year, and he got second in championship and lost 30 or 40 points, whatever it was that he was down. But this year, I think he's actually worse this year with the silly little bullshit that he's getting himself involved with. And I just think kind of like Barsha, where Barsha doesn't. I think Barsha's brain switches off as he starts to move into a corner when there's somebody in front of him. It just switches off, and he can't remember that he's actually just knifed somebody's front wheel. I think Anderson's in the same sort of vein. When he just follows somebody into a corner, I think his brain shuts off and he just takes out a front tire and thinks he's okay and keeps going. Like, I don't think he sees that there's actually an issue with his technique at that point. Like, it just doesn't seem to register on him and Barsha. That doesn't seem to make any difference. And I wouldn't be surprised if this probation, he does actually get like some points docked here in the next week or two, because he just does what he does and, he ends up putting somebody in the ground again. Like, I can see it happening really soon. I just can't see him actually paying attention to it.
Yeah, that's right. And if Barsha comes up beside him, or, someone that he's had trouble with before, what's going to stop him doing it again? Gets docked a few points. I don't think he's too worried about it. But yeah, he just, I'd like to know what the team think. Like, they got to just be shaking their heads, especially, after last year, the amount of points he lost when he could have been a lot closer or, had the title. And then this year it's the same thing. So they're just shaking their heads.
Well, you know what's going to come up with that one very soon from the team side of things? It'd be about now and about for the next month or so that those contract renewals are starting to be spoken about for next year. And Anderson's deal is done at the end of this year. So he'll be in team negotiations here very, very soon. And if he's still in this little shit show that he's in at the moment, Kawasaki is a very interesting sort of, team group and just branding from the top down, for that Japanese sort of mentality where, the respect and that you don't do sort of certain things and you got to have a, professional presentation. I could see them just not re-signing him because of these sorts of little, stupid acts, and the fact that he's not presenting a professional, presentation of himself on a racetrack. Like, I could see him without a Kawasaki deal, despite the fact that he did so well last year. He might be looking for a new team. I could see that happening based on what he's currently doing because he's not getting a decent result.
Yeah, that's right. And you've only got to look in, more with the 250 team than anything, but you've only got to look at the history, and if you don't do well, you don't get another chance.
No, but that's the question would be then, where does he go? Who takes him in? So that would be, and it'll be an interesting one to hear what the silly season rumors start being in the next few weeks, because this is when these negotiations are going to start happening. They happen quite early. They're usually done by the end of Supercross. So we'll have to keep an ear out for what we hear from other sources as to where people are going and if Anderson is going to stick with Cowie or not based on what's happening so far. So, keep an eye on that space, and we'll just monitor it along the way. But last comment in that 450 class, how's Webb's form and how's Sexton's form?
Sexton, well, start with Sexton. He just, he does so well all day and then just can't keep it together. It's just got to be so frustrating for him, and, for his fans and everyone watching. It's just like, man, how can you just keep doing this? Like, he's quick in qualifying, quick in practice, quick in the heat races, and then quick at the start of the race, and then one silly mistake, and that's it. And it's killing him.
It definitely is. And the funny, not funny, but like the interesting comment that I saw this week, and it's one of those ones that's a bit of gold that always seems to come out of David Villeman on one of the posts somewhere on social media. Villeman made the point that he was going in the V of the whoops, and that's where he got sort of sideways and crashed out of. And he said, if you're skimming the whoops, you don't go in the V. That's for the jump line guys. If you're a skimmer, you go either side of it, so you can't get that swap that happens on the V line. So I thought that was quite interesting, and that sort of goes to the point that Chase gets obviously comfortable with the lines that he's taking, and they're the fast lines, and doesn't have the ability to see past those and look to move about on the track and find a better one when he's in that zone. And that's where he sort of comes unstuck later in the race, because the track's deteriorated to such a point that he should have moved 3 or 4 laps earlier, and he just can't do it for some reason. He can't see outside of his 3-foot world. So, it's a bit of an interesting one. He keeps doing it. I'd hate to be in his head at this point in time, with knowing how many times he's had these. Well, he's probably given up 4 wins now, isn't it? 3 or 4 wins across, motocross and supercross in the last sort of 12 months-ish. So, it'd be tough to be going to bed at night this week, thinking about all of those stuff-ups from his side of things. But if you're Webb, you're probably on the other side going, I just pulled it off again. I'm back, baby.
Yeah, I said to you, I think it was last week or the week before, I said, is Webb back? I said, I think I've seen enough. And then there was a bit of I think, what did he get, 5th last week? And I was like, oh, maybe we take that back, but then pulls out a win this week. And, if he is back, and then, we're in trouble. It's very close in the points, and Chase keeps falling off, and Tomac, does these rides where he gets 5th or something. It could swing Webb's way.
Well, they've given him confidence now. That's the problem for Cooper Webb, or not for Cooper Webb. It's the problem for everybody else. It's great for Cooper Webb. He's got his confidence back, and he didn't look anything great all day until that main event, and he was just all of a sudden he was Cooper Webb. He was Cooper Webb of championship years, running, just holding a pace, keeping pressure on, and I reckon he would have pounced. Whether Chase went down or not, I reckon he was figuring out something to pounce on him in that last lap or so. And so, but now the problem is he's got confidence, and the field is going to have to deal with a confident Cooper Webb. I don't know if he'll be as good in Oakland, because Oakland is a very rough, deteriorating, rutted track. And I don't know if he's going to be as good, but he'll probably still be, because of that confidence, he's going to be on the podium. But we'll have to see if he can, how he goes there. But I think after this weekend, with the rest of the East Coast rounds, they're going to be here I think there's like 5 or 6 in a row. That's where I think Cooper Webb's going to start to shine. So, but he's got the confidence to do it now. He's got that first win in, what was it, a year and a bit now. So he's back. He's definitely back. He's on the money.
Yeah, I think I agree. And it's been a while since he's won, so it's got to feel good now. And he's got that confidence. So we'll see.
Yeah, we definitely will. So a couple of things to sort of run through a little bit of injury talk now. We're going to do not the emergency department. We're coming to that later in the show, but there was some interesting stuff, and I'll throw some credit out here to the Vital MX guys, and on their, I think it was their post-race show that they're now doing this year with Lewis Phillips and Michael Lindsay. Those two guys were talking about a possible knee injury to Nate Thrasher in the week before Tampa, and about a possible, whether they thought that there was some rumors going around about like an ACL or something, but he still managed to get second on the night, which sort of contradicted that information. And then for those that maybe listened, I was listening today to the Moto X pod show on Vital MX's YouTube channel there, that they're now linked up together, and Thrasher was on there talking to Mike Lindsay and Scotty and Darkside there, and when that question came up, he sort of skirted it and dodged it and left it alone a fair bit too much for my liking. I think there is something to this story, and he might be dealing with some sort of knee injury at least. Whether it's an ACL or not is yet to be seen, and you'll probably hear about it if it becomes more of a problem, as they tend to do. But he might be able to keep riding through. Now, I don't know if you've heard too much about this, Benny, but ACLs can, for some people, be really easy to rehab in terms of not the sense that they resolve and they're fixed, but in the sense that you can do everything you need to do. That's not a sidestep on a footy field. You can get over it pretty easily and actually turn it around really quickly. And I don't know if you've seen in our notes here, but I've written down. Do you know who Cadell Evans is, Benny?
Yep.
Former Tour de France winner, Australian cyclist legend. But there's a story about Cadell, and it fits perfectly here because a cyclist just goes in one direction for an ACL, right? They just go up and down on the pedals. There's no sideways load. There's no stopping, cutting motion, which is the problem for ACLs. Much like us for moto, if your feet are on the pegs, you don't have any of these issues. It's only when your foot comes off the peg in a corner and catches that can be a problem for us. But there's a story about Cadell after that night, after that win in the Tour de France, before, I think it's the same year. I might get my years mixed up here, but it was for the Olympics. The Beijing Olympics were close by at that point. And he was out partying, the rumor goes, and slipped on the dance floor, right? And tore his ACL. And he had something like a week to 2 weeks to then get to racing the Beijing Olympics, which is a massive long cycling race. It's a decent length one for the Olympic event. And in 6 days, he'd got down all the swelling, restored all range of motion and all function of his muscles above and below the knee, and had no issues and competed that event. So it can be done. So if Nate Thrasher did have something, and it happened from what the rumors were from the guys on Vital, was on the Monday after, what was the round before that one? Houston wasn't it, Benny? It was Houston that was for the first round for East. So if he had it on that Monday, he had 5 days to get that swelling and coordination and range of motion back under control. And if he only tore the ACL, he didn't tear anything. He didn't tear the meniscus. He didn't rupture the blood supply that goes right next to the ACL in there. He might not have had much swelling. He might not have had any pain. He could have rehabbed that really quickly and easily and just tightened the knee brace up even more than he usually would. And he's good to go for the season, so long as he doesn't catch it again, which we've all heard the story before. Somebody's going to try and ride through an injury. 2 weeks later, they catch it and they're out again. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But I don't know what your thoughts are on this one, Benny, but it could be absolutely nothing. He could have an ACL tear, or it could all just be rumors.
Well, it could be any of those. And I think, he's got a week off now, and then back into it next weekend, I think. So depends on what his performance is that weekend, then we might see. But yes, they're very tight-lipped, and that's part of the reason that, you try and scope everything out and see what's going on. But yeah, you just never know. But if it gets into the rumor mill, then yeah, usually there is something to it.
Yeah, they don't usually talk about some sort of injury unless there's something happening there. They might be on the wrong side of the body, or they might be the wrong body part, or the severity's off. But there's something that's happened there to Nate Thrasher, and whether it's significant enough that he has to go out later on in the year or not, we'll wait and see. But there's been plenty of guys that have ridden without ACLs for years too, so there is that side of things. He might have had it and he's fine. He can work it out without one. But along the same sort of lines, the Mumford story, and you got sort of tagged in this or saw it, I think, on Twitter when it happened a week or so ago when Chris Kiefer put up about he heard about an Achilles injury for Mumford, which was kind of scary because he'd only just come back from a significant wrist injury and got that fill-in ride with PC, and now we're hearing these other rumours. And have you seen you've seen the updates today, haven't you, Benny, about Mumford's not going to be at Oakland like they'd announced 2 weeks or so ago?
And yes, because he's tending to an injury.
And so this is where, as much as I try and bring out the information, when these injuries don't happen at the racetrack, when they happen in practice, this is where they can hide this stuff super well because nobody knows about it other than the couple of team guys. And if they're at a public track, maybe the right person saw it and can post on Vital or post on Twitter or something like that, and we get a bit more of an interesting look at it. But for now, all it could be is that Mumford's wrist injury hasn't healed enough and he's not ready fitness-wise to take on the race this weekend, which wouldn't be a bad ploy. Like, if you think about it, we're talking about it before, they've got one race for the West this week and then there's like 5 or so weeks off. So wouldn't you take that extra time to be ready on the bike and do those couple of races in a few weeks' time rather than rushing in to do this one? That'll make sense to you too, wouldn't it, Benny?
Yeah, it would make sense to me, especially the way that the pro circuit luck has been this year. I think you've just been taking your time with it and getting him to where he needs to be so that, yeah, it doesn't happen again. Or, hopefully they can just stay away from aggravating the injury or, just making it completely horrible and he can't ride.
Yeah, but in all of this too, like with Nate's injury, the rumours of it, with this particular position for Mumford and, whether it's a new injury or the existing one just taking more time, it really shits me when they don't tell you now, but then they get to the first race that they're back to and they have a shitty result and they go, oh yeah, I had this other issue. Why wouldn't you tell us a few weeks back when it actually happened so you can get out and, put it out there that you're working your ass off to get back, and it makes you look a lot better when you turn up there. I just don't understand this. Let's hide all this information bullshit. It doesn't do anybody any favors, in my opinion.
I think it's got to do with, Thrasher's one of the top guys. I think if he lets out before race weekend that, oh, hey, I've got this problem, I've been working real hard this week, but, it's still there, then, Hunter's just going to go, possible ACL problem. And, I mean, he pretty much did it anyway without whether he knew or he didn't, but, caught up to him and got him and won the race. And I think, if people go, this person has a problem and they're behind them or they're past, getting close to them, they're like, that's in the back of their mind, like, this person's got this problem, I'm going to make it difficult, put pressure on them, ride them high, whatever, just, try and make life difficult. And then I'm guessing that they hope that injury, takes effect and they can just get past and win or whatever. But, yeah, I think that's why they try and hide it, so that people don't have that, they think they've got a problem and think they're weak in areas and, yeah, it makes it hard.
Yeah, maybe. But I still like the idea that if you're worried about somebody else having an injury and that's the only way you're going to be able to beat them when you're late in a race, well, you need to work harder yourself.
Yep, that's true.
It's the simple rule in my book, just work as hard as you can and be as good as you can and you'll beat them no matter what is the situation they're in. But anyway, so that's them hiding. And then on a couple of returning sort of notes here, and you'll hear Later in the show, we've got Matt Moss on the line talking about his BarX ride, but he drops in there about that Derek Drake was back for this weekend, and there's been a subsequent update from the team today that Derek Drake is back from his injury already, and I kind of find it a little bit amusing and a bit confusing that he's already back, because he reported that he had a fracture of his humeral head or humeral neck, which is right up in the shoulder there of the upper arm bone. And for somebody to have a fracture in that area and be back in, I think I worked it out, it was less than 3 weeks, that's pretty unheard of. So I'm not sure if the information he put out initially was correct, or it's got to be a bloody minor fracture for it to be healed in that sort of time and for him to be back on a supercross track in 3 weeks, because it don't make too much sense to me. But good on him for being back this weekend. I don't know if I'd pick him for. I don't know if I'm picking for our fantasy league this week, mate. I'd keep away from him, Benny.
Yeah, no, we won't be picking him. Well, we went a safe team last week, and that didn't work out either. So, but no, he won't be on the team. But he hasn't had much track time. He came off at World Supercross in Melbourne and broke a wrist, I think.
Broke a wrist. I spoke to him in the
and then came out and did this. So, yeah, he hasn't had much luck. But if he's back, we'll see how he goes, and hopefully there's no more injuries.
Well, hopefully there's no more injuries, but if he did break what he initially said that he broke and he's back already, I just hope that he gets through this round without pulling off partway through and, hasn't quite got it ready to go yet. Because that's kind of what I can see happening, is that he comes out for practice or something and he's like, nope, that's no good, and disappears again. So we'll have to see how that goes. But he's back this weekend. It's amazing. Another one on the comeback to rookie Gavin Towers, unfortunately back in motocross last year at round 11 at Ironman, tore his ACL. And I think that was either his first or second race. Actually, that was his debut race after Loretta Lynn's for him, I'm pretty sure. But he's been now rehabbing that ACL. So it's been 5.5 months, and he put up a post today saying that he's completed his last physio rehab session, and he's going to be looks to be back on his normal program from next week sort of thing. So he'll be back on the bike getting ready. I expect that will be for an outdoors return, given that he hasn't done any supercross as yet. He probably hasn't even done any of the futures events. I don't think he's done any of that stuff. So he'll be making his way back here shortly. But yeah, not a good start to his professional career, starting off with an ACL straight away. But been 5.5 months. It's in that usual sort of recovery time frame that we expect for these. So nothing too fancy for him, but good to see him getting back and, making his way through that rehab.
Yeah, no, and you don't want to be sitting on the sidelines either. As a rookie, it's not great. So yeah, next week if he gets back on the bike and gets into it, hopefully he'll be ready for outdoors and have a strong showing.
Yeah, definitely. Now let's get to our favourite section of the week, and the thing that can either make the week or break the week. It's Pulp MX Fantasy League, mate. It's AlwaysMoto Fantasy League time, and our sponsors for the league, we've actually got a new one this week, and I don't think I've even mentioned it to you officially. You might have seen it in our notes here, but we've got Bolt Everywhere coming on. They're going to throw in a few pairs of gloves for some prizes as well. So we've still been working those sponsorship angles since this has started. And so all those 110 players in our league, in our AlwaysMoto Fantasy League, should be pretty privileged. We're going to throw out these gloves randomly across the few rounds that are going to come up here. So we're going to probably go from about round 9 onwards with some round prizes here. They're not going to be just for first. I'm going to pick some numbers here randomly on the show the week before with Benny, and we'll throw that out for whoever finishes 27th or something like that in the round, and that will be where the prize goes. But for prizes, just a reminder to everybody, you've got to be following all the sponsors' pages, and that's on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. One of them will suffice, and that's for Coastal Motorcycle Centre, Goat Brand MX, Thor MX Australia, Michelin Australia, Ringmaster Images, Helltech Australia, and now Bolt Everywhere. So you've got to be following those. And you've also, Benny, I know you would have done this because you're a good boy, you follow the rules, but you've got to send us an email at fantasy@alwaysmoto.com with your Pulp username and your Instagram or your Facebook or whatever username, so that we know who you are and we can actually get in touch with you when you've won something. If you haven't done it, you're going to forfeit your prize if you do win one. So make sure you get into it. I know I've got 20 of you that have done it. that's not a lot out of the 110. So if you're listening, tell your mates, tell everybody you've got to do those things. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on a potential prize when you win it.
Yeah, and I'll clean the prize up like I did last year.
Benny's ready and waiting. That'll be his payment for the week. He'll take the prize off you, no worries at all. So, and if you want to try and talk to Benny or myself about how the league's going, or who you should be picking or who you should be avoiding, you can get in touch with us on the Instagrams. Obviously, the Always Moto page is me. You can get in there and send us a DM. For Benny, it's Grino, GRINO22 on Instagram, or you can send him an email at thecontractor@alwaysmoto.com. Has anyone got in touch with you on the email yet, mate, or is anyone just on the Instagram still?
No, it's just been the Instagram. But like you just said, talk to us about who we should be picking or we should be staying away from. I think the 110 members should be staying away from me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was just going to get to the overall scores here. Just give us a sec. You're giving it away that you're having a shit show. Well, so for me, I'm on a 1,128. And Benny, do you want to announce how many points you're on as your overall score?
1,016.
Yes, mate, that's right. I am over 100 points in front of you, and I feel good about it.
Yeah, it hasn't been good. Not good at all. My best round was A2. So A2 was my best round, and the last two have not been good at all. I haven't even got over 100 in the last two.
Oh, you're going to have to be here for redemption this week with Oakland. But I've been awesomely doing my 8 from the heats is bliss in all but one round. So I'm loving the picks that I've been able to get straight from the heats, which is awesome. I don't like the LCQ pressure, but yeah, it's been nice picking those. Now, we would normally in this segment be talking about our teams for the upcoming round, but as of yet, the Pulp MX Fantasy site hasn't got the updated handicaps up for the round, so you can't actually pick your team when we're recording this. You probably will by the time you hear this. But so to check out our personal teams, you'll have to check out our Instagram stories where we post them, and check out that hashtag AlwaysMoto Fantasy League, and you'll be able to see everybody's teams who's posted them to us. And you'll be able to help decide who to pick for your team as we go. But what we're going to quickly run through is just how bad or good our teams were from Tampa here. So, Benny, do you want to go first on your 250 team? Who did you have for 250 riders at Tampa?
I just got out of it too. Just
good timing. I'll go
give
first.
Me 2 seconds.
So I had Max Anstey as my all-star, and I got 26, which I was very happy about. I had Jay Sowen and got 36 points, so that was in the double, which was awesome. I had Nate Thrasher, and I was sitting there watching it going, geez, I really want Hunter to win, but I don't want him to win because it means that I'm going to lose a couple of points off Thrasher. But then Hunter won in such a fashion that it was okay. So Nate still got me 42, which was awesome. But the one that really gives me the shits, and I thought he'd be doing a lot better by now, but it's Chris Blows. He only got me 11 points. I could not believe it. He couldn't even make it in the double points on that PC bike. So I hope he gets his act together, but I'm not picking him next time he's available.
Yeah, no, I agree. I had him as well, and 11 points just isn't going to cut it.
No, so I think you pretty much had the same 250 team, except for maybe Max Anstey. You had Hunter Lawrence, didn't you?
Yeah, so Blows, Nate Thrasher, Hunter Lawrence, and Jay Sowen.
Yeah, so basically the same teams there. So, and we both got 26 on the All Stars. So we going to have the same points there for the 250. So it must have gone really wrong for you in the 450s. What was your 450 team?
Yeah, so my all-star, Justin Barsha, as we said earlier, getting caught up in that rubbish with Jason Anderson, and got a few extra points after my other rider, Dean Wilson, got taken out in the last corner and actually pretty much ran straight into the back of him while he was trying to pick the bike up.
That was some nasty footage. If anyone hasn't seen it, you got to check out Instagram and find that video of Dean Wilson. He stands up after being taken out by one of the Hill brothers and gets clobbered in the back by Justin Barsha, who's trying to ride past him over the finish line. He just gets nailed. It's ugly.
Yeah, it's not not good at all. So yeah, Barsha got me 21 because it wasn't high enough, and then because of that, I think Dino was running actually in the top 10 at one stage.
He was 8th at one point, and I was looking at it going, this is choice. He's going to get really good points. And then he dropped down to, I think, 14th or 15th and just out of double points. Ridiculous.
Yeah. So he got me 12 points, and you 12 points.
Yep, because I had him as well.
Yeah, this week Chiz gave me 28 points. I said I was going to pick him last week because he cost me when he took Freddie out. So I said I was going to pick him, but yeah, only got me 28 points. And then I picked AC, and in his words, he endoed his brains out in the whoops. And I think he also put it down again after that, and he only got me 12 points. So yeah, not a great week in the 450s.
No, so other than Dino only got us to 12, like we mentioned. So he was my worst one for the 450s. But I had Plessinger with max points for an All-Star at 26. I had Justin Cooper get me 36, and I had Colt Nichols for 30. Now, I'm gonna, you know how you had that on never picking again list the other week when we were doing this. I think you had 3 riders. I'm going to put I mentioned this once before, and I put him on here last week because out of sort of a necessity. I had Justin Starling on my team and then saw the update about his chin and his knee from qualifying and got scared and didn't pick him. And I ran to Dean Wilson because I thought he was the next best available of what I had to pick from. And he's done it to me again and got crappy points. Dean Wilson is on my don't pick ever again list.
Yeah, that's fair. I can agree with that. He did well last week, or the week. He did well one week. And yeah, I pick him 12 points.
Yeah, I love how matter of fact you were about that comment there. Yep, I'm not picking him again. Just flatline there. There was no emotion in that. You were just straight to the point. Yep, not picking him again.
Yep, it does not hurt me one bit.
We got to remember it's just a fantasy league. It's not real life. We still like Dino, but we're not picking him in fantasy. Sorry, mate.
He's on the list.
All right. Well, anything else from fantasy there for you, Benny, before we mention off the sponsors one more time?
Well, I can tell you now, when the teams do come out, I'll be picking Jet. Probably, I'll probably nearly pick the same team from another race, but yeah, I'm definitely picking Jet, that's for sure. So
I don't know if
we're
Jet
sticking
would be
with that
worth
one.
it. Jet might not be worth it because he's going to be like a -1. So you'll actually get, you won't be able to get 26 points.
Yes, that is true. I didn't even think of that. So yes, I might not be picking him, but yeah, if he's there to pick, I'll be picking him.
Yeah, if he's a 0, I'm going it. But if he's a -1, I'm not going to. I'm going to try and pick somebody else who will get me that max 26. But we'll see how that works out. But yeah, all right. That is our fantasy league, AlwaysMoto Fantasy League update for this week. Like I said, check out our teams on the Instagrams or check that hashtag AlwaysMoto Fantasy League to find out who we're picking for right before lockout. But thanks again to the sponsors, Coastal Motorcycle Centre, Goat Brand MX, Thor MX Australia, Michelin Australia, Ringmaster Images, Helltech Australia, and our new one, Bolt Everywhere. So thanks to you guys for supporting our fantasy league. All right, let's take a break here on the AlwaysMoto podcast. We'll be back with the emergency department.
Hi there, my name is Eldon Baker, and I'm from the Baker's Factory, and you're listening to AlwaysMoto.
All right, guys and girls, we are back. Let's jump into the emergency department list. The emergency department. All the injuries, all the gory details, and when they'll be back on track. It's the list you really don't want to be on. You do not want to be on this list. I don't care when, how, why. You just don't want to be on the list. It doesn't matter what part of the season. This list, stay off the emergency department list. But it is filling up as per usual this time of year. The injuries have mounted and there are a few more people joining the list. One such rider from Tampa who we mentioned there in our fantasy league discussion just in the segment before this one, Justin Starling, the number 60 on a privateer gas, managed to cut open his chin. Got a nice laceration there and managed to do something to his knee. We believe it's just a minor twist and it's sort of a sprain of those ligaments there. He has indicated that he will be back this weekend at Oakland, so hopefully that holds true. Hopefully the knee is all right. I dare say the chin will be fine. It'll be all stuck together and everything with stitches and tape and glue and whatnot they use for these little sorts of wounds these days, but it shouldn't be an issue unless he catches another bump. But hopefully he'll be all good this weekend because he didn't fare well after that bump. He didn't make it through the rest of the night program. He did try to do the heats, but that was it. So not good day there in Tampa for Justin Starling. Also not a good day in Tampa for Cullen Park, the number 67 on that Phoenix Honda. He got banged up. He's injured his shoulder area. We had a bit of a quick chat with him today, but he's expecting to be back ready to go at that next round at Arlington. He was a bit bummed that Tampa round was his hometown race and he wasn't able to show what he was capable of, which is unfortunate. Alex Ray, A-Ray, as everybody knows him, the privateer rider on the Yamaha, tried to triple in and then hit before the whoops, managed to go over the bars. And if you haven't seen that on Instagram, you need to check it out. It's a nasty ass crash. Somehow he's only managed to walk away with a broken thumb. Nothing else seems to be of concern, which is amazing considering how nasty this crash looks. And he's already completed surgery. If you haven't checked out our stories, they've probably disappeared by now, but they were up on our Instagram stories this week. And that's why you need to follow us on our socials. We put up these bits and pieces from all the riders that we see this injury information about to try and keep you guys up to date in one place. You can check it all out on our page. So if you aren't already following us, which I don't know how you found us if you aren't following us on Instagram, but if you aren't, you should be. So A-Ray had that surgery. He will be out for about 6 weeks. I think he will be trying to be back around the Seattle round at the earliest. It might be a round or so later. We'll have to wait and see. Another Tampa injury was Matthew Curler, number 958. He's a privateer. He managed to dislocate a right shoulder, sprain his left wrist. He's still getting investigations about a possible broken thumb. And unfortunately, it sounds like the bike caught up with him at one point because he's managed to get a burn on his side. Now, if he does have a broken thumb, he'll be same as A-Ray. He'll be about that 6 week mark before he'll be able to resume riding. If his dislocated shoulder is bad, he may need surgery on that. He's still getting some checks on all this sort of stuff. So we'll find out a little bit more from Matthew probably on next week's episode. We've been trying to line him up for an interview for next week to see how all those things have gone. But at this stage, yeah, he's got a couple of things he's trying to work through and deal with. But he will most likely, if everything goes okay and it's minor grades on these things for the dislocated shoulder and the wrist sprain, he should be back around the Atlanta round for the next East Coast round because he's riding that 250 class. No word on Dylan Ferrandis as yet at this time of recording as to whether the concussion from Houston is going to see him out again at Oakland. He was indicating initially to be back for Oakland, and as per protocols, that would be possible if he passes all those steps in that time, like we discussed on last week's show about all those protocols. If you want some more information on that, I'm not going to rehash it this show, but go back and listen to last week's show. We've got some good talk there about the concussion protocol with the AMA. So check that out. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see if we haven't heard anything from the Star Racing Yamaha team or from Dylan himself about his concussion and where he's up to. It'll probably come out pretty much right after I record this show, which is how this usually goes. But anyway, keep an eye on our socials and we'll update you if we hear more. Some updates out of Preston Kilroy, that number 71 from Club MX Yamaha. We spoke about this last week. He broke both wrists at Houston. Confirmation that he's had surgery on both wrists, had fractures to both the right and the left radius bones in his forearm, so he's definitely out for a couple of weeks now. Nick Romano's had his surgery on his ACL. He's in recovery mode, so he'll be at least 6 months off the bike. No more news on Ryder Floyd. I'm expecting him to be just enjoying this week off before Arlington kicks back in. But we're trying to catch up with Ryder Floyd to see if there's some more information about what he actually did. But at this stage, yep, just expect him back for Arlington. And who else? Let's scroll through. Cameron McAdoo will be back this weekend for the Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki. That swollen left arm looks to be all good from his crash there at, Anaheim in the whoops there before the break for the West Coast guys. So he should be back and ready to go. Who else we got here? Oh, Derek Drake, like we mentioned earlier, he's back for BarX Suzuki this weekend. Still not sure how, but he is. Funnily enough, Marvin Muscan has been MIA since the reports of a wrist injury before San Diego. There's been nothing on Marvin on anything anywhere, and we have no more details on his situation at this stage. We have tried to reach out to KTM Direct, but nothing as well. We'll just see what happens when this information comes out later on down the track, but at this stage, no idea on when he's coming back. Wilson Todd should be all good, ready for Oakland. I haven't really confirmed if he is or he isn't, but he only had that laceration to his thumb that made him miss 1 week there, but we expect him, after having those couple of weeks off for the East Coast guys, that he'll be here ready to go for Oakland. And I think that's about it for the updates at this point. Everybody else is still much the same. Some career, not career, but I was going to say career again. What an idiot. Season-ending ones. So that's the Rod Bells, the Hart Raffs, the Greasons. They're out, unfortunately, for the season. Still no real more information from Vince Freeze or the Moto Concepts camp about Freeze's injuries or potential injuries. I have reached back out to Tony Alessi to see if I can get anything, and I have tried to reach out direct to Vince. Absolute crickets on that side of things. Don't know what's happening there, but I expect that he's just probably going to sit out this Supercross season and be ready to go when World Supercross kicks off in the middle of the year. All right. That's our emergency department for this week. Let's jump into a Dave's diatribe now. This is Dave's diatribe. What's a diatribe? A diatribe is a forceful and bitter attack against someone or something. So keep your head down. You might be next. That's right, you could be next. Now, I could go the generic one from this week that everybody else has spoken about and have a bitch and a moan about the live timing. And it was shit, I will say that. But that's not my diatribe this week. My diatribe is that as an Aussie, I occasionally have to have I don't have the ability to watch these races live. I get up super early some mornings and I watch the practices before I get to go out for my day. I've got kids, they've got sports on, they're going to go to the beach in summertime. We've got family parties during the day. I can't sit there and watch the Supercross all day Sunday on every week. There is life that's got to go on. When I'm fit and healthy, I tend to want to ride myself. At the moment, that's not an issue for me. I'm still banged up myself, so still working on getting that recovery back. But the thing that really, really shits me with all these emails that I get, and I should know better by now, but I'm going to bitch and moan about it anyway. But I should know better when I'm walking at my phone to set up my SuperMotocross app to get the streaming happening from the TV. That should be all I look at. I shouldn't touch any of the notifications because goddamn, it drove me nuts. I'm halfway through watching the 450 main, thinking this is getting real tight. This is going to be awesome. Bing goes the phone. I instantly pick it up, pull down to see what the notification is, and it's an email from the media group at SuperMotocross, and the title that shows up straight on the screen, Cooper Webb returns to win. And fuck me, that really gave me the shits when I'm halfway through the race and Cooper Webb's not in the lead yet, and Sexton's doing his thing. It just gave away the result, and it really pissed me off. So I'm going to turn off notifications this Sunday when I'm trying to watch the race so that I don't know who's won. I'm sick of finding out beforehand. It's much nicer to be able to watch the race in replay sort of thing, but not know the result. Hate doing it, but the phones nowadays, you're so programmed to pick it up and see what it is. If those Super Motocross updates could come through just maybe a tiny bit later, that would be perfect. But for now, I'm just going to turn the notifications off. So that's my problem, people. But I just thought I'd have a little complaint because I've got the soapbox out here ready to go on the AlwaysMoto podcast. Anyways, that's how it goes sometimes. All right, that's Dave's diatribe. Not too bad. Oh, well, special mention too. There's been no sightings of Doris ever since those first two rounds. So I wonder where Doris went after all that. But after who the fuck is Doris comments, she's gone MIA and we haven't seen her since. So maybe we'll see her back this weekend. Who knows? We'll keep an eye out for Doris on the casting there. But no Doris of late. All right, guys and girls, let's take a break here on the AlwaysMoto podcast. We're going to come back with our interview with the fill-in rider, Matt Moss, for BarX Suzuki.
This is Derek Kelly, and you're listening to the AlwaysMoto podcast.
All right, guys and girls, joining us this week on the AlwaysMoto podcast, it's someone who's seems to be having a bit of a career resurgence this, just in the last sort of 6 months or so. He's joining the BarX Suzuki team for the remaining West Coast Supercross rounds here in the AMA. It's this Aussie Matt Moss. How we doing, Matt?
Good, mate. Really good. It's it's at 34 years old, and after everything that happened, I definitely didn't think I'd be back here in America racing. But it's just been a tribute to the effort I've been putting in and my family and stuff like that. It's new lease on life, I guess.
It's pretty wild to see what you're doing in the last sort of, like I said, 6 months or so, like from World Supercross, getting the ride for World Supercross. And then, I wouldn't say that was an awesome series for you, but you did pretty well. And then to back it up with the win in Newcastle for the Aussie Supercross and getting second in the title there. And then obviously the Prince of Paris bit, I think that turned a lot of people's heads. It's been a pretty good ride for you in recent times, man.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously Bud Cowie, took me from an Instagram message, and obviously I was very grateful for that. And, obviously I got a ride for World Supercross with them guys and didn't quite perform the way I wanted to. But all in all, I enjoyed it. Went back with them to race Paris Supercross and won that. And since then, everything sort of turned really well for me. I knew I could do it in Australia as well with our series. I've been riding really well. The hardest part's just chopping and changing bikes, man. It's
I was going to ask you that actually, because you've been on, this will be what, the fourth different brand in the last 6 months?
Yeah, I've gone like Kawasaki 250, Yamaha 450, back to Kawasaki 250 for Paris, then back to Yamaha 450 for Australia, and then now I'm here on a Suzuki. So I think
3 bikes. Sorry, my bad. 3. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 bikes, but it's this bike's probably been my hardest to adjust to. Where the Kawasaki and Yamaha, not saying they were very close, but I had a Kawasaki 450 I could ride as well, so it didn't really bother me. I just rode that in between. So, but yeah, it's a Suzuki. Obviously, it's just a completely different bike. But the team, we're slowly getting there. We're slowly getting the feel I want. We're hoping tomorrow we're going to Parla for our second last day of riding before Oakland. So hopefully we can hit some strides there. But all in all, it's different with obviously here. There's a lot of people that ride at the practice tracks or Parla and all that sort of stuff. And I've never been the best practicer, but I always turn it up when it comes to a race. So I'm gonna go on their merits at come Oakland, hopefully, and really have a good shot at it. I hurt my elbow when I was over here. I've had to get a cortisone shot in that. So it hasn't been the most smooth sailing since I've been here, but we hopefully this week should be. Today was a lot better. Tomorrow hopefully should be a lot better, and then Wednesday or Thursday should be a lot better, and then we'll get into Oakland. I know I've been practicing my starts on the bike really, and I love it off the gate. So that helps massively with these sort of races. So I'm looking forward to the challenge. It should be really good.
So how does this BarX ride come around for you? Did you contact them? Did they reach out to you because of those results we just talked about previously? Like, how did the two of you find each other?
So how it worked is, obviously I knew I wasn't racing motocross in Australia this year.
Yep.
I'm going to be racing World Supercross. So I think in Australia it sort of overlaps. Not, you can do it even if you're Australian, racing in Australian motocross, still do the world stuff. But, you have to be doing 2 disciplines at once. So I was always going to sit out motocross, and I messaged a couple teams just to let them know, hey, I was going to be sitting on the couch or not sitting on the couch, but I was going to be excavating and doing a normal job. Yep. So I just messaged a couple of teams saying, hey, if you ever need a rider, just hit me up, and on Instagram, and they did. They got back to me, and we flew out. And yeah, it's they've been very accommodating, that's for sure. So it's looking good. They got a 4 rider team this weekend. So is
your spot technically filling in for like Derek Drake then, I think, who's got that arm injury?
No, Derek Drake's back this weekend.
Oh wow, okay, cool. So
I don't know if that's common knowledge, but yes, I'm pretty sure he's back this weekend. And then is it
like Carson obviously left. Masterpool has disappeared, seemed to be, but yeah, so you're filling in for Masterpool.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got Masterpool's deal. I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know what
Yeah.
happened there, but
That's fine.
yeah,
Yeah,
so-
nobody really does at this point. But yeah, as long as you've got a bike that's
Yeah.
turning up with your number on it, you're good to go.
yeah, I get to ride my race bike tomorrow, so
Beauty.
I'm looking forward to that. So
Well, so this round, and then you've probably got there's a couple more weeks, and then they have off, isn't it? And then you get to go again. So at least you'll get sort of a bit of a test run at it with the race at Oakland, and then have a couple more weeks to build again.
yeah, not really. No, that's the unfortunate being Australian. I'm gonna and having a wife and 2 kids. It's my daughter's birthday tomorrow, so I've already missed that. Missed my wedding anniversary. Missed Valentine's Day. So I'm going straight home after Oakland because there's a 4 rounds of East Coast.
Yep.
And most likely I've had a couple of little offers to just do some select rounds of motocross. Whether I do that yet, but I do really want to race happen. I think I'm pretty sure I might be able to scrounge up a bike off WBR and maybe race that one race as a one-off and then head straight back to America.
Yeah, right. That's a fair call. At this point in life, when you're a little bit older, you've got a few different responsibilities that you've got to be involved with. You can't just go full-time race mode, can you? So, yeah, I didn't think you'd have to jump back in there for the flight home for family reasons.
Yeah, well, when I first come back racing, me and my wife obviously had the chat and said family first. You know, we've got to put family first, and if everything's not paying the bills, then racing's going to get put on the back burner. So
yeah, fair enough.
At this stage, I've done pretty well that we're paying the bills. We're just getting by. So I'll come back and work for probably 3 weeks and maybe race Appen and then head straight back over. So I'll be on another brand again.
Just to add to the list, mate. Why not, eh? Why not at this point? So,
yeah.
Well, look, that's pretty interesting. Sorry, go on.
Oh, yeah, I'm just enjoying it, mate. I'm enjoying the ride. I haven't got long left. You know, I've got to be realistic. I'm 34. But all in all, this is all leading, just keeping me feet wet for World Supercross. I'm really going to I'm definitely 450 for World Supercross. So,
cool. So is there anything you can actually let out of the bag on that one yet in terms of which team or anything?
I'll definitely be 450.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. But I'm going to have a good red hot crack at it.
Yeah, nice.
And really, really try and, I believe, you know, if not a win, I believe on the podium for the championship. So
yeah, nice.
Hopefully we'll be giving it all for that. So
interesting thing that came up around here, just a colleague of mine here that we sort of work with on the podcast, he mentioned about that you said something at I think it was at Newcastle round about that, you know, it was sort of proving yourself again with that win and that, you know, maybe a few of the Aussie brands and stuff weren't maybe taking you as seriously when you sort of come back. Has that, I gather that's changed now. If you're getting these sort of other offers to, you know, even just do one-off thing at Appen, is that sort of, is it coming back around now that you're sort of in flavour, if that makes sense?
I'd say no.
No? Okay.
Obviously, Yamaha, 100%. They have backed me and Bade and Blanchett. So most likely we will 100% stick with them guys and give it all. I asked pretty much every team. Definitely not Kawasaki. That Rob Walker, I don't know what his personal issues with me are, but he's obviously just a goose and doesn't want Kawasaki winning. So he doesn't want nothing to do with me. So Japan even asked the question and he blatantly said no. So yeah, so that's a no-go.
Yeah, disappointing, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, it affected Bud Kawasaki, like they're running a race team, and if I can't get the backing in Australia, that pretty much ruled me out of their team for this year, this year. So for them, it's heartbreaking. Like they wanted me to race for them, and you know, it's just because of one guy's personal problems that shouldn't even be there. And running a multi-million-dollar company like that, it shouldn't be personal. It should be the best thing for the brand. But obviously, I don't know what his go is, but he's a goose.
Well, at least the Yamaha seems to have stepped up and continuing to support you, because like you clearly are deserving it of these recent results and just the different things that you've been able to achieve in the last, like I said, 6 months. It seems like you've just sort of burst back into it all. It's been awesome, and obviously the Supercross side of things is gelling with you really well at this age. So yeah, no, nice work on that side of things. So quick question.
Yeah, Supercross. Yeah.
Yeah, quick question, but with this, obviously this Suzuki ride for you, and obviously lots of people talk about how the bikes are, a bit older tech and not as developed as such. You used to be a big Suzuki guy for a while there in Australia and won a few championships on them. Are they familiar to you at all? You said before that it was actually the worst one to come back to, but is it familiar at all from the past, or is it still too long ago?
No, no, that's been so long. And the bikes have obviously the bike's really fast. Twisted Development do their motors, and it's the things are rocket ship. Obviously, them being a satellite team, the infrastructure to do testing every day is not quite there. So, like, I got some suspension today, but I've been here for a week and probably had 4 or 5 rides. So that's my first suspension change. So. And it made a lot of difference. But, yeah, like they're not a factory team, so I've got to understand that as well. So I'm so used to having, when I'm in factory, that, if I want to make a change, they can make a change there, but they don't quite have that infrastructure. But they're doing everything they can for me. But, yeah, it's not, I wouldn't, minus a Kickstarter, if it had an electric starter, it would be the same. I'd put them in the same category as the other 250 guys, you know what I mean? So,
that's awesome to hear that that it's fast, and 2, you're comfortable with those sorts of things, and you're rating it. Like the Kickstarter for me, unless you stall the bike, it's not an issue. You got to kick it on the start line, but unless you make a mistake and you stall, there's no difference in the two of them. In the different brands.
No, exactly. But I have stalled it a couple of times.
on that moment, he says.
It's taken me 2 laps to kick it, but. Yeah, like it's one of those things that you really have to be conscious of, because with a Yamaha or whatever bike, you can just straight away, press the button while you're still rolling and get going. But you got to be wary of it. But yeah, if you stall it on a Suzuki and you got a Kickstarter, that potentially could lose you a lot of positions. Where with an electric start, that them positions are not as much. So.
Yeah, understandable, but yeah, obviously just hold that clutch in a bit more close to the bars if you can.
Oh, don't worry, I swing off the clutch.
Fair enough. Well, look, Matt, I really appreciate you joining us on the AlwaysMoto podcast, and it's awesome to see what's happening for you, in recent times. And look, we wish you the best for Oakland this weekend, and whatever you've got for World Supercross, we'll be there watching it at some point. So. It's just awesome to see you back and getting some nice results and getting some opportunities again. So, good luck with the future endeavours.
All right, cheers, mate. I appreciate it coming on. Thank you.
No, all good, Matt. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Scott Meshy, number 411, and you're listening to the AlwaysMoto podcast.
All right, guys and girls, we are back. Thanks for listening, as always, to the AlwaysMoto podcasts. That was a great interview there. Nice to catch up with Matt Moss, the Aussie, and that new ride. And look, it's not perfectly injury information. Obviously, he did talk about that a little bit with his elbow, but he sounds to be all good with that heading into this week's round at Oakland. So, it's just a different point of view. With the fill-in ride, he's taking over there probably from Ty Masterpool. We're not sure where Ty's disappeared to be honest. But anyway, that's a subject for another story. But nice to catch up with Mossy. And like we said, that resurgence to his career has been quite phenomenal since that little bit of an issue he had a few years back there that got him in a bit of hot water with the ban there that came through. So awesome to see him back and putting in the results and the hard work to get to that point. That's a lot of effort that he's gone through to get there. So hopefully he has a good showing this weekend on that BarX Suzuki in Oakland. All right, that's it for this show. Don't forget to send us your T-shirt orders. Email to info@alwaysmoto.com. We'll soon have the alwaysmoto.com website available, and we'll be ordering those shirts through there very soon. For now, but follow us on social media to stay up to date with all things injury and moto. Search AlwaysMoto on your favorite social media platform, and then follow and subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast feed so you don't miss the next episode. And as always, this is a big one for us. If your app allows, we need that 5-star rating, please. Leave some feedback or a rating. It helps us immensely be found by the next person that will then find the next person because they've done a rating as well. So please get off when this ends right now. Leave us a rating. Jump on that app, leave a rating. Please, please, please. Thank you. Don't forget to check out all of our written content and our inspection articles over on fullnoise.com.au. And soon we'll have some stuff coming up onto the alwaysmoto.com site as well. But that's it for another show. Thanks to Polar Australia. Thanks to Slantboard Guy for the show support. Thanks to the Fantasy League sponsors, Coastal Motorcycle Centre, Goat Brand MX, Thor MX Australia, Michelin Australia, Ringmaster Images, Helltech Australia, and the new one that's come on board this week, Bolt Everywhere. Thanks to the AlwaysMoto Contractor. Thanks for listening, guys and girls. Remember, you've got to be smooth to be fast, because if you're not, I will probably be seeing you deep in the emergency department, maybe even the clinic, having strapping tape thrown wherever it will stick.